you want to be? I'll let you do the intro today.
Who you wanna be? This is my intro. Who you wanna be?
Who we want to
This is
be
this is my
today?
intro. Hey people, hello, hello. It's been a little bit of time since we showed up on the internet to bring you the No Particular Reason show with your favorite host, the other side, Kier Lewis, and myself, Yanko. Showing up every Friday. Some rested well and some unrested well.
Very
uh,
invested.
but we do what we do and what we're called to do. So welcome for another exciting episode.
I'm
So
excited to be here. And for anybody who has not joined for no particular reason, it's really a conversation about anything, everything, and nothing. It's whatever comes to our hearts over the course of the time that we experience a week or something that came up. So this is a back and forth conversation. We love to engage with the audience. So if you have any questions, comments, agree, disagree, have your own topics you want to discuss, feel free to put those down and let me know. But
pop
first
in.
order of business.
Yeah. Up.
So your hypnotist, right?
No test
Hypnotist.
and also hypnotic. Look into my eye.
Hypnotic is a song that is by, I can't think of it. But anyway, all right.
Yeah, there you go.
What are your thoughts about hypnotherapy on young kids?
um in any particular situation, or you got to give me a little bit of context of just in general, or
Kids that are struggling with mental health issues.
is there age group in?
Let's just say between 9 and 14.
Oh, okay. Well, the reason I was asking is because they live in their own world until they're 7. So
Yeah,
it doesn't take much to hypnotize them because they're already hypnotized.
yeah, that's
I,
true.
yeah, I see that with the little guy. All I got to do is do a little pretend and be like, "Looky here," and he goes like, oh, "Where it is, right there." But yeah, um, it does help with and there's people that specialize in working with children and kids, and like anything else, it could be a great help. Um, to overcome whatever programs they've been settling into, or help them go in transition of something that they're going to.
Yeah. So it's so interesting. I asked because
I mean, I can't give you a much because I don't specifically work with kids. I have colleagues that do work with kids and they specialize with that. It's just not something that I do, and so I can't really comment much about it. So yeah.
first off, hello, Hazir underscore Enoch. Good morning. I don't know what time it is there, but it is definitely morning in the Eastern
Morning.
Standard and Central Time. So the reason I ask, and I don't know that I have an opinion, but it's more just an awareness that, so for example, I was talking to one of my nieces who is 8 years old, and she was convincing herself that she was not excited about her birthday. And of course, for me, I'm like, you might be want to be mindful of what you're saying, because don't you want to experience a joy-filled birthday? If you're telling yourself you're not
Yeah.
happy about your birthday, you're not going to have a good birthday. And so that got me thinking about this idea of hypnotherapy on kids, because yes, I agree with you. If they're open to it, it could be super beneficial. But that also requires an openness, right? A curiosity, because
That's right.
even a kid could immediately shut down the benefit of it by not believing that it could be helpful. And that's where I think that's an important understanding for individuals to, you know, have knowledge about if they're thinking about that for themselves or kids. It's if you are on the fence and you're like, you know what, I'm open to it, cool. But if you're a child and you're like, no, nothing ever works for me, blah, 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 then even that environment may not offer the benefits that it could, because the kid has already dug its heel into what they expect to come out of the situation.
And that's the key, though. You have an expectation of what you would expect out of situation to come out of. There is skillful professionals that know how to work it, so there is less resistance to whatever it's going on. Um, Milton Erickson, who it's pioneer in conversational hypnosis, showed it in his practice back in the day when he'll bring the parent pretending that he does therapy to the parent, and they let the kid loose in the room just to roam around, and while he's pretending to working with the parent affects the child and does the therapy, and the change happened and the child never
Yep.
knew how that inspired. So it's not like you're gonna come in and sit in this chair and we're gonna do therapy and we're gonna do this and that and this and the other thing. And everything else, you also have to be willing to participate and have some kind of desire
Yep.
to change or do whatever you want to do, because most of the times those things happen unconsciously, and you don't know when something happens, how it happens and how it affects you. So in in reality, the change that happens, you're not aware of it that happens. And the best thing you do is find a solution the way you find a solution, and therefore you struggle or you're going through something.
Yeah.
So does
Well,
that answer, does that
it
answer your question?
does, but I also think it leads me to this idea of, yes, I think it's incredibly beneficial for us to support the youth in whatever, whether it's
Mm.
hypnotherapy or sports or mindfulness practices, whatever the case is, to
Yeah,
be able to support their wellness. But when we force it, then kids tend to be resistant, you know? And
yeah.
so finding a way to get that buy-in to at least be curious is like imperative if you really want your the loved one, whoever it is, whether it's a child or an adult, to benefit from whatever it is that they are undertaking in terms of tools to help them work on their wellness.
Well, first of all, you got to know that if you're doing it for your sake or for their sake, because sometimes parents just want their peace of mind, and
That's exactly it.
they're not doing it for the other person or the child, as how they see it as, for their benefit. There might be just doing it because they like, here, you go do your thing. I just want to be alone for a little bit or whatever. So that's the first thing to understand. And then the other thing is that if the child or whoever it is, of course, it'll resist you because he has a freedom of choice and freedom of will. Um, it's like, and the harder you try to fall asleep, the more you stay awake. And that's how it applies in real life. The more harder you try to do something, the more resistance you'll see, versus of like allowing things to naturally happen, because the moment you give up trying, then you naturally fell asleep and everything happens. So in a way, it's kind of the same thing. If you push, you expect to get pushed back. It's just going to happen. There's no
Force
other way
creates
around it.
opposite and
Yeah.
equal force,
Yep. Yeah.
100%. Well, even, using my youngest daughter as an example, because she's open about her mental health journey with people. So, in seventh grade, she struggled immensely with anxiety to go to school. It was right after the COVID pandemic, and like there was just a lot of fear. But by that time, I recognized I was never going to get her to overcome anxiety and fear by pushing her to go to school. So she racked up those absences in a big way. But instead of making it a big deal, I would just say, okay, what can we do to make you feel a little bit calmer and supported, whether
Right.
it's go for a walk, practice breath work. But it was never something, it wasn't expected. It was something I offered. And then over the course of the year, she started to integrate those practices because she did it enough that it became second nature. And by eighth grade, she was starting to face some of her fears. And then fast forward to 11th grade, she was the lead in a play. And so that to me is, interestingly enough, because I was just talking to you about uh, putting you in contact with somebody to be on our show who is passionate about this. It's conscious parenting. It's being mindful that if I, for me anyway, if I really pushed my daughter to just go to school, then she'd resist it. And most likely, I would have compounded her anxiety because, on top of the fear she already
Yeah.
had about going to school, now she's afraid she's going to be in trouble with mom.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, uh, if you create the space, that's safe space, and you show with your actions instead of telling, like that it's safe to do whatever by you doing it, then you lead by example, and it's a lot easier. And that's what I usually do, or attempt to do, or try to do most of the time. Not as like, you're gonna do this or this is gonna
Do as
happen.
I say, not as I do.
Do,
Which, by
yeah.
the way, just side note, I was watching a fitness video the other day because that's one of my passions. And this like wicked buff chick was doing a workout, but she wasn't doing it properly. And she deadpan looked in the camera and she was like, this isn't actually proper form. So do as I say, not as I do. And I'm like, and but
Why in the camera?
I was just like, okay, like I just found it hilarious. I was like, well, there's that one. But no, you're 100% right. And I work with, I'm a big fan of working with like families. So if I'm working with, a child, maybe I support the parents or vice versa. And I always encourage parents, and I know this from my own experience, um, that it is so important for me to embody the practices rather than tell my kids what they need to do. And I share that with whomever I'm working with. I'm like, I know it feels scary to feel like you're hands off with your kids, but you're not. You're actually doing more good by working on yourself, showing them every day that you practice breath work, having open conversations about how you're feeling, apologizing when maybe you were reactive, because role modeling that behavior starts to teach kids that that is how that they want to feel. Or when you start to feel better, your kids feel it from an energy perspective. Kids are highly intuitive, and so they feel you calmer, and so they naturally experience the benefits of the work you're doing without actually you forcing them to do stuff. Speaking of, kids are very, very busy and they like to say hi when they like to say hi. And I love the fact that that's what our children, both yours and mine, do.
Give me a second. Continue. Hold that thought. I'll be right
I'm,
back.
I'm holding the thought. All right. So, for anybody just listening, we're talking about hypnotherapy on children. And I was just curious about what Yanko thought, given that he's a hypnotist. I have studied hypnotherapy. It's a tool I can use with individuals, but I generally don't. And if you have any thoughts or comments, feel free to drop them and let me know what you think. But again, the biggest thing for me in terms of any tool that you can take on to support yourself and your mental health is to be open to it. Because a lot of the times I hear people say, well, that's not going to work for me. And the minute you say that, it's not going to work for you because your brain is one, a sponge, but two, it's directed by what you give it permission to experience, right? And this is where, there's so much narrative around mindfulness now and neuro linguistic programming, dialectic therapy, because how you talk to yourself directly impacts the experience that you will have with any tool, right? So, for example, working out. I love to work out, but if I go into the gym and say, oh, well, I can't lift a certain amount of weight because I haven't been to the gym in so long, or whatever the reason, the minute I say that I can't do it, I'm unable to achieve that result. However, there's a little trick. If you struggle with believing that you can achieve something, or just say somebody says, "Oh, you should try hypnotherapy to help you with a situation," and you feel resistance, right? You're like, "Meh." Instead of saying, "Oh, that won't work for me," right? You can trick your brain to being open to it. It's not even tricking, it's teaching your brain to being open to that experience by just saying, I suspend whether I think I can or cannot, and I'm open to the possibility. Because now, unlike affirmations where we're like, oh, I'm a multimillionaire, when you only have $10 in your bank account, and like you're telling yourself this thing that is bumping against your subconscious, which is like, who you kidding, fool? Instead of having to have that fight, that pull, push, you open yourself up to have the experience, and then it might work for you. And then you might not like it, but at least you were able to have the experience. And what I do with the individuals that I'm blessed to support is I teach them a myriad of different tools, because what's going to work for one person to, break free from anxiety or break free from limiting beliefs or whatever is not going to work for another person. And so if you give yourself permission to practice different tools, and if you find yourself having resistance thinking, oh, this is weird, for example, tapping, right? Tapping your meridian points. A lot of people are like, well, I don't know how tapping is going to help me. There's a lot of resistance because it's not something that we have experienced. So yes, thank you, Alex, for dropping in. And it is 100% a great way to stay open to all possibilities. And we're limitless, guys. Like, science has already proved it. When you break down an atom to its most minute structure, there's nothing inside. And obviously within the spiritual communities, they talk extensively about limitlessness. So your mind can be limitless if you learn how to work with it. But going back to the tapping explanation, right? It's not something that is or has been commonplace in the past, particularly in the West. And so instead of completely shutting it down or saying, oh, that's weird, that's never going to work, just say, I'm open to it. And then you might have an experience that you wouldn't have otherwise had, simply because you gave your brain permission to try that new thing. And the truth is, guys, that goes with everything in life. I watch people in my own family. I watch people at the gym. I love to observe people because I love people, number one, but I love to learn human behavior. And I watch people speak death into themselves all the time by saying that they're not smart enough to get a different job, they're fat and they can't lose weight. they'll never get a partner in life because nobody loves them, whatever it is. That's speaking death into yourself. And then I watch other people who speak life into themselves. And that's, I'm open to all possibilities. I know I'm going to achieve my goal today. I look forward to learning from the experiences I have, even if the experience doesn't produce the results that I'm hoping, etc., etc. And for anybody out there who's like, well, easier said than done, it's a practice. You're listening to somebody who drank 2 bottles of wine at night, every night for years. You're listening to somebody who was a workaholic. I worked 5 a.m. to 10 p.m., just chasing that dopamine hit and that achievement so that I was worthy of being loved. I really struggled immensely. And it wasn't until I started to examine and change my language to myself that I started to speak life into myself and really experience life in a more positive way. So it's not easier said than done. It's a practice, but it's a practice that's well worth it because your experience will change. Your outer circumstances will change when you start to become aware of and make changes in how you talk.
That's right. And I apologize for stepping off the camera. I had to address something, but here I am. So there you go.
Here I am again on my own, the rights to that song. The world
Hey,
we live in.
you just came up with the song. Yes, that's a slight variation. It's not the original.
Well,
So
literally, you showed up and I was originally going to sing, I'm back in the
I'm
sea
back,
again. And then I'm like, oh,
baby.
well, I don't own the rights to that melody either.
Sure.
I would
Nobody
just
owns the
advise
right for
that
anything.
because the
But
irony is like, even now, I'm reading and watching like, well-known people. And I do to a degree get this, but I can't help but laugh. Like having to say AI does not have the right to use my works for blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, like this just is taking a whole nother level of copyright to like,
I mean, I get it because one of the companies got sued for using authors' work to train their AI to better understand that kind of work because it all comes down to what we talked about in couple shows of like the original code and everything synthetic can only mimic what's the original.
yeah.
So the AI can only mimic us, what's the original, our work and other things make it so convincing that it's real, but at the end of the day it's an illusion. Yeah.
Yeah, but everything's an illusion. I mean, you and me, we could totally get into the weeds here, and I'm not. I'm not stepping into that jam.
which illusion you want to be in?
But like,
This
look,
illusion or the other illusion? You want to put the goggles on and have a tube in your mouth and just not move and be in another la la land?
but I mean, I get it. I really do get what you're saying, and yet it just cracks me up. I mean, the very idea that I have to go on here so that this video doesn't get flagged to say I don't own the rights to that music is just like, I just laugh. I mean, in my mind, most people know that I didn't come up with a song from Aerosmith.
It's kind of like the sages back in the day when they were going through somebody's land and they come in and says, "This is my land. How dare you going through my land?" or whatever. And nobody owns anything. We're simply passing through this existence. We come, naked with nothing in this world, and we go off naked with nothing in this world. All we can take with us is our experience and learning. That's all we can get. So nobody owns anything. No, nobody. It's all an illusion that it's sold to you. Oh, we're gonna sell you a piece of land, and you're gonna own it. And yeah, no.
Well, interesting, right? So you and me do things a bit differently, but for me, I will not sign a contract with the individual I work with. Like, I just will not. For me, everything's an energetic experience. So, if you follow through with your commitment to me, great. If you don't, fine. Like, at the end of the day, that's the way it's going to make manifest. And mind you, I've never had an issue. But lots of people have these contracts and you have to follow through, blah, blah, blah. Fine. But even that's an illusion, because how often do people, I mean, sometimes people don't. So for me, it's just my true north, or how I work to operate in this world, is, does it feel yummy? Does it feel good? Does it feel
Yeah.
right now? And there are people I won't work with. Like, I just, again, going back to that hypnotherapy conversation we had a little while ago, there are people who say they want to do the work, but they're not at that place to do the work either that I do with individuals, or really, like, they're just, there's resistance. And the minute somebody says they're not willing to do stuff, I'm like, cool, that's awesome. And yet I'm not the person that you're not willing to do stuff with.
I don't even get that far. Like I can usually tell with
Yeah,
intuitively if the
now I
person is
can.
ready,
Yep.
because if you train yourself to do people watching, you can tell when the mouth says one thing but the body shows something else. You can tell right away, like if this is going to happen or not going to happen, or what it is. You don't, like, they might be telling you, oh, I want to change, but then deep inside in the back there is some kind of hidden benefit that they're getting out of this, or whatever they want to work on or change,
Yeah.
or whatever that is.
Well, that's why that's
I
what.
I
Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say I have a agreement, but it's more of a, here is what I'm gonna do, and so it's more of they're knowing what to expect, or kind of like, because some people have misunderstanding in other things of like what's gonna happen. I recently had somebody that came in for aggression, but said, I don't want to be hypnotized. I just want the regression, but I don't want to be hypnotized. And I said, well, that's like going to the bakery and saying, I want a cake without flour. You know what
I
I
was
mean?
just gonna say,
I said, I'm on the wrong person for you then. I mean, it says
how do you
hypnosis. So like, so how do you get, well, and I'm like, is there a reason you don't want to be hypnotized, or are you concerned about it? Because it's one of the ways that you get in that outer state. It doesn't matter if you use hypnosis or drumming circle,
yeah,
or anything will get you in outer state. And I get it. Some people regress people without formally doing a induction of trance. They still do the same
going
they're
into
still in the
trance,
trance, yeah.
100%.
So
The
I
method
explained
may
that to
be
that
different.
person, to that client, and I said, "This is it. Like, if I'm okay, if you want to go away, that's fine. This is why I have the agreement. It tells you what I'm gonna use, how I'm gonna do it, what to expect, and all that. So there's
It's so
no,
funny that you say that, because while you were off camera, I was sharing with the listening audience, like, there's so many tools to achieve the same result, right? Like,
mhm,
so
yep,
tapping to CBT to dialectic therapy to, I mean, you name it.
sound therapy. You can, yeah.
Yeah,
There's so many, yeah.
like, and that's why I'm a huge proponent of giving yourself permission to keep an open mind, because you have one, all of them could work, who knows, or you might be partial to one. And when you try different things, you kind of land on a thing that's your jam. And actually, as you experience deeper levels of consciousness and awareness, those tools become obsolete and you lean into other tools and you
Yeah,
lean,
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah, yeah, yeah. The
what
journey
served
goes
you
on.
initially as, like, for me, right? Boxing was a great way to release anger and express energy that was trapped in the body, which I didn't know at the time. I just was punching things because I wanted, but now I realize that it was a movement of the body was actually helping me release some of that repressed energy. But now I can't imagine punching somebody in the face. Like, it just, it wouldn't feel good for me. So,
Journey is different. You just go through different phases, and just like, and this is why I lean more towards um, things that I read from the East, where
me too.
they talk about that everything is cyclical, and you can see it with weather. You have different seasons, you got different stages in your life. You got the stage where you're a kid, then you're becoming adult, and then you become adult, and then old person, and then eventually you pass on. But everything it's a stage, and each stage you have a different experience.
Yep.
So if I look back to when I was younger, how would I handle a situation? It's totally different how I handle a situation now. So that's just
Absolutely.
that's just how it is. Not just because I don't know. I won't say that it's experience. It's more of a just the situation. It's different. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's pivot because I got other
Yeah,
things going
let's
on.
go.
So you and I talk about manifestation a lot, and you and I
Yeah,
both
yeah.
agree that we make manifest our
I was
reality.
sharing an experience with you that I did
Go
unconsciously,
ahead,
and
share.
yeah,
Yes, share that experience.
yeah. Early on, before we started the show last week, I went to Canada, and on the way back, I was sharing with my friends over there that I'm gonna take my time, driving because I drove. I didn't fly out to Canada, and told them, whatever time I get home, I'm not really in the rush. Even if it's midnight, that'll be okay. I'm going to take my time, maybe stop by and look at some sites. And sometimes, when you drive in the expressways, you have those site parkings to do sightseeing where you can park, and they even have binoculars or whatever.
Overlook. Yep.
Yeah, you can watch the eagles or the sunset or whatever. And they were kind of smiling, and I just said it in a kind of way of like, maybe that'll happen. I don't know. And little did I knew, I got routed with the GPS through some cornfields, and they end up crossing back to the States on a ferry ride, which I wasn't expecting. And I didn't know that even existed because the road stopped in the front of a gate with two cars. And I'm like, where am I going here? And the sign said ferry to US border crossing. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I see how that happened. So I get to enjoy that, what I put out, even without putting much thought into it. I get to be on a ferry. Look, there was an island that we passed through, and on the other side, there was a lot of um, parks and sightseeing where it could stop and just relax and maybe ground and sit down and meditate. And it happened. I put
Yep.
it out there, and I was like, oh, I see what's going on now. Thank you.
Yep. But so I actually want to dive into more intentional manifesting. But to real quickly touch upon your point about manifesting, prior to this show, I was talking to an individual who flipped their phone over and showed me a bald eagle flying. And then you mentioned the eagles. So that is just how
Yeah,
wild the
yeah.
universe is, right? But anyway, going back to intentional manifestation, for me, I always ask for what it is I wish to receive, making sure that it's in the highest good for all, because then it's not coming from this selfish eye. And not to say
Right, right,
selfish,
right,
because
right.
we all want our own desires to be met, and there's nothing wrong with that, but coming from that individual eye and making sure that whatever it is I desire, I'd like it, but I don't want it to take away from the collective I. And when that happens, there are times when the things that I put out to make manifest don't come to fruition yet, because they always will. It's just not on my timeline. So, what are your thoughts about that? Because, and I'll use my beautiful Nana as an example. Right now, he is working to manifest selling 4 cars today. That's his goal. And it's been his goal all week. And as of late, he's still working to achieve that goal. But in the meantime, so I always, Nana and I talk extensively about our goals, because 2 or more people working energetically toward a goal will make it happen and make manifest
Right.
quicker, because it's like the power of the collective. Um,
Right.
but I also know that if it's not in the highest good of all, then that what it is he desires may not make manifest the way in which he would like it to, meaning it's not going to look the way he wants. And I think that's the nuance of manifestation that people don't understand. It will always come to fruition. It just doesn't always look like the way our ego wants it to look. So, what are your thoughts on that?
That's what I was gonna say. Who's the one who wants that to come to a fruition? It's usually coming from the ego point of things. Usually, manifestation just happens just for the fun of it, just for the joy of it, because everything it's just joy, love, and it just happens. The sun doesn't shine just because it's getting paid or to have some certain outcome. It just happens. Same with the clouds. They're flying. Rain comes in. Nobody goes and says, if you don't do that, you're not going to get this outcome or whatever. And the key to manifesting, what I understand it to be, is when you put it out there, just to let it go and not have an expectation of like how it's going to unfold, when it's going to unfold, even if it's going to unfold. And then it happens. And the more mindful you are of what's happening and how you're doing things, and you start to recognize that conscious or unconscious, whatever you speak to it, it becomes true. And which gets me into another tangent I can go on, which I'm not going to go on.
Well,
but
but to tie into that, something that Nana wanted to experience was having a meetup in New York Anime Convention. That's one of his big conventions that he goes to as a cosplayer. And originally he was turned down for it. And yet, the same day that he was frustrated by not having the result that he wanted selling cars, they hit him up and they were like, "Hey, by the way, we now have a spot. You down?" And I was laughing because I'm like, of course, because to your point, there isn't this focus on. It's just you ask and then let it go. And that's where, in biblical sense, it's like ask and you shall receive, but it's not
yeah, you
ask and
you'll
then
get it.
control all the variables to
Hmm.
receive. And that's where we as humans struggle, myself included sometimes. People, I'm not above being like, okay, I know I can do this. Like, what's going on? And then I just have to laugh and say, okay, well, why is it that I'm expecting this experience to happen when I want it? That's really actually just creating more resistance to it, because it's saying that it's not working out in my favor.
It's not like one it's above the other or the other way around. That's a mindset, and usually that comes from ego. And ego has different ways to mask itself and sell you different things, and you become something that you weren't, and you're more. But reality of things were all the same. Like, tie it up. You come naked and you go naked. Like, what's above, that's below. It's the same thing.
Yep.
Nobody it's more or less than the other, because we all come from the same source.
Yep.
It's the whole trick of thinking of that the ego, it's making you more or less and then looking for certain outcomes that will tie in and validate your experience that, oh, I created it. And then the ego can go and say, look, I manifested it.
Yep, 100%. And yet, I had somebody yesterday ask me, well, what's the purpose of the ego? Now I have an understanding of that, but what is your thoughts on ego?
Well, the purpose of the ego is to help you navigate this reality. Um,
Yep.
Mind, body, spirit, the three go together. You got the ego in the mind, and you mistaking it for you. You mistake your mind to be you, and you mistake your body to be you, and all those other things. Um, but you can easily check it. There is different practices and things to validate that. You don't have to take my word for it. And so we blindly go through what the mind does, but like a lot of the practices, they say you have to become somebody so that you can become nobody.
Yep.
you know, when you come
The
in,
expansion to the contraction,
right,
like the
right, right,
birth,
right, right,
death,
right,
rebirth
right, right.
cycle. And that's
Yeah,
why it makes me laugh when people tell me they're afraid of death. I'm like, we're dying all the time. Like,
yeah, you're dying slow death, and you're
it's
ignoring it
serious.
every
Yeah,
minute.
all the
Yeah.
time. And that's something I really appreciate, or at least I was in my head earlier today thinking about me and Nana, because I'm like, we're constantly showing up differently. And yet we appreciate each other and however we show up, because we're not the same. We're celebrating our 6-year anniversary on Sunday. And who we were 6 years ago is like 450,000 lifetimes ago. And it's a beautiful thing. So I encourage people to really examine this idea, especially in the West. We've created this fear-based narrative around death when really it's just like the shedding of to have a new experience. It really is. But to your point and to the question I asked, that I 100% concur with you. Our ego isn't bad. Our ego helps us take action. What the ego becomes problematic when the ego is the driver of your human experience, when
Yeah,
that's in
yeah,
control. What
yeah.
Because then ego is driven by fear. Like, to your
Mm,
point, this fear of needing to achieve something in order to be worthy, or whatever the case is, whatever core beliefs you were brought up believing, your ego will drive that through fear. But if you can recognize it has a place but it's not in charge, then your spirit, like your heart, like that passion, that joyful nature that you inherently are, will guide you, and the ego will help you take the actions to achieve the experience that your spirit wants you to have. Well,
I mean,
essentially.
one type of thing helped me, like a practice. When something happens and you get that idea from the ego coming in, I ask myself, is this really the truth? Start looking for the opposite to see if there is anything, because I'm already convinced by the ego that the worst case scenario it's going to happen.
Yep.
But then I go and I say, well, let's find out and let's see, and maybe play it mentally and figure it out. Um, which I won't recommend to some people, because some people might get even more kind of like a doomsday
Yeah.
scrolling if they go to investigate. So different
It's
people
doom
have different
scrolling. Yep.
ways
You're
to, like,
feeding that more
yeah,
and more. Yeah.
because the
Yeah.
ego will say, oh, because you might ask yourself, well, what's the worst can happen? And then the ego, of course, it's going to tell you, oh,
Welcome
this
to
can happen.
WebMD,
Oh, there's
guys.
other thing.
Everybody who
Yeah.
had a headache now has brain cancer.
Exactly.
Well, it's so funny. Real talk. Okay, you know this. So I'm moving energy up my spinal column, and a lot of tension sits in people's shoulders and in the columns of their neck, right? So I've been
Mm.
doing a ton of neck work. But what I didn't realize was that was going to cause all the muscles in my brain, well, not my brain, my skull, to fire. And so I've been getting these massive headaches. So me doing research, I'm like, oh, is it common to have this experience? Blah, blah, blah. And it was like, yeah, this is why. And then it says, but be careful because you could have serious brain issues. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like,
I know.
so
You
then
might have,
again,
yeah.
much like you, I just say, you know what? I suspend what I think I know, and I'm open to the experience, knowing that it's going to work out in the highest good. And really, truly, when you do that, you're connected to the whole. Like, because there's no history, there's no past, there's no future. You're just experiencing. For me, it was a very painful headache, but nonetheless, I didn't allow myself to tell myself the story about, oh my God, it could be this, or oh my God, it could be that. I'm like, so this is what I'm experiencing right now. And then it got annoying. So I took ibuprofen. So shout out to that. I was like,
Sure,
300
sure,
milligram
yeah.
ibuprofen to the rescue. You're my friend
Sure.
today.
Yes, ibuprofen helps. Anything in life, it's here to enjoy and experience, because
Yep,
life, it's nature of life is joy. It's joyful.
it is.
So anything that appears not to be joyful, it's just an appearance.
And you
Usually
know
that's
what? So going back to the collective of, you know, my youngest daughter, I use her a lot because she and I have deeper, like just different conversations.
did
She
you check
asked
with
me my
her for
thought.
the rights to use
What's
that
that?
or no? Did you check with her for the rights to use
Yeah,
that,
she
or
always finds it. She knows.
copyrights and all?
Yeah, well,
I'm just
Billy, do I
joking.
have the right
Continue
to
on.
talk about you? She'll be like, yeah, mom.
Continue on.
Um,
Yes.
but she asked me, and I guess this was a question posed to her, do I believe that sexuality has been influenced, like sexuality of the masses has been influenced by social media? And my response to her was, we're all influenced by each other's thoughts, which is why it's super important to be still. Because it's not just energy that we experience when we go into a room. Like, we take on the belief systems of other people, and
Yeah.
and that feels so like, oh my God, that can't happen. No, it really does. And so
Yep.
what I encouraged Billy, I said, the reality is everything influences everything until you be your still. And that's where, again, using scriptures and across all Eastern but Western philosophies too, be still and know. It's about knowing. And so you're going to be influenced by everybody's ideologies, thoughts, and stuff until you get still.
Yeah. And that's a real thing. It's part of like finding yourself, or whatever you want to call it. That stillness gives you the perspective of like the other side of things, because you have your family group consciousness, you have your individual consciousness, then you have your city consciousness, then you have your state consciousness, then you have your country consciousness, and so on, until you get to planet Earth, which is another consciousness. And there's other planets out there that have their own consciousness and everything else. And when you start seeing that, then you have a better chance of discernment and understand how everything connects.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Well, and I'll share a real story. So yesterday I was talking to somebody that I experienced all of my um early life with, you know, as a child and stuff. And we were discussing college for my oldest daughter and stuff. And so the individual was sharing their stuff, and immediately, like, man, I started going into ego hard, like panicking. I was like, and so this is how much I know me. I said, at this moment, I'm dysregulated. So I need to end this conversation. I really appreciate your thoughts. I'm going to let you go, but I appreciate you, love you. And I hung up. And then what did I do? I went into meditation. And first, I felt the discomfort. So for people, like, when I haven't experienced like that, particularly when it brings up childhood beliefs and stuff. My body has a visceral reaction. So like it felt very uncomfortable. There was tightness in my chest. My shoulders were getting tight. So I breathed through and I breathed through and I breathed through and I breathed through and I sat there until I knew that that was just a set of beliefs that that individual believed, that I didn't have to subscribe to it. And the reason that my first response was like, ugh, was just because it was what I experienced for so long in my formative years. It's pretty embedded in my psyche. And so that's the practice that I, again, would encourage people to realize, I think, or for me, I've talked to a lot of people, and there's this misconception that we're not gonna like be bothered. Like if you meditate a lot, it's not that, it's just that I'm hyper aware of what I'm
No, yeah.
experiencing. And instead of reacting externally to that, I get still. I feel the discomfort. I feel the until I am able to move out of that and know peace, and then, recognize that that's not a truth. That's just an individual's belief.
Right. And you really a good point on just staying in it, because a lot of people think that once you start doing some kind of practice like that and meditating, you're gonna be in bliss, which you will eventually when everything else clears out. But that doesn't make you numb. It doesn't take you out of the world. It doesn't take you to escape this reality. At the beginning it might look like that you just need a time to escape and just kind of sit and allow the system to regulate itself. But in reality, the more you do it, the more attuned you get to everything that's happening in the body, around you, in the mind, everything else. And you get to a point when you no longer have to engage with that. You just see it as the clouds passing in the sky. You see you sense the emotion in the body. You see the thoughts, or some people hear their thoughts, or whatever way you experience your reality. And then it's just like you're watching clouds pass by. You don't engage in that thing, and then everything just goes away the way it comes in. Kind of like the clouds, they come in, they go, weather changes, but you're still here. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Um, and yeah, uh, meditation, it's not gonna make you numb. It's gonna work the other way
It
around.
is.
It's
You're
gonna
going to be
make you
much.
a lot more sensitive.
And that's
Yeah.
why, I've shared with you on many of the shows. There are just certain individuals I won't be in a room with, and it does not make that person bad. It really doesn't. It just means that I am so hyper attuned to everything, and in that moment I'm not interested in like being an anxiety bomb. You know what I mean? Because like
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
what I'm experiencing. So,
I mean, in the same. Yeah,
well,
continue
so
on.
the other thing, for the listening audience, and I say this for individuals who might be struggling with like maybe mental health, wellness, or addiction. I started meditating in the throes of addiction. And so, like, and I don't know that, and the practice that I decided to embark on was the one that I actually never recommend this practice to people that I'm working with in the beginning because it's god awful. But like when I couldn't even sit with myself for like 15 seconds, it was so uncomfortable. I mean, I really like just the sensations, the body, the thoughts were just overwhelming. And so understand that that's common. That is because you're learning to attune with mind, body, spirit. But also, there are ways to learn meditation that doesn't make it that uncomfortable. So instead, feel your coffee cup, like feel the coolness of the ceramic, feel the cupping of your hand. all that's mindfulness, and that helps you start to drop into awareness so that it doesn't feel so uncomfortable in the beginning. Because I'll tell you right now, guys, it was hell. It was not fun.
It is, and that makes me think of the bull of the Zen with the 10 steps of like how you start, and they compare the mind with the bull running around, and you get to the point when you're calm and the bull follows you. You're not riding it, but then anybody
Yeah.
can Google it, see the see the images of that, because you've been in this pattern for so long, and you let it go, and like muscle, the more you train it, the more used to it get to what's happening. And so at the beginning it's kind of, it appears to be hard, but it's not. So yeah.
And I have one more thing I want to touch upon because this to me is so important. This came up with me talking to somebody I just adore deeply.
Okay.
Um, this individual was told by somebody that it's very easy to be aware of how they deliver a message to a loved one. That was what they were told. And this is what I responded to. If we live in a world that is constantly filled with information overload, your nervous system never gets time to settle. If your experience from when you were young was watching people be highly reactive, and then all you've known is to react or spit out whatever it is that you have on your mind, it's not easy. It takes practice. And the reason I say that, guys, is I was a girl with verbal diarrhea of the mouth. I still am. I'm just more thoughtful about how I deliver the message. And what I mean by that is when I was young, whatever I said, I'd be like, yo, what are you doing, you stupid idiot? Like, it never occurred to me to be like, hey, what made you make that choice? Why not try it this way? It was just popping off. And so, again, breath work, meditation, movement of the body, all those things move energy, but it also teaches you to pause. It teaches your nervous system to so when I hear somebody say, well, it's really easy to think about how you're going to deliver a message, it's a practice like anything else. And so give yourself grace. Don't assume that you should
Yeah.
know how to say something. If all you've ever known is to be reactive, because we don't know. We don't know what we don't know until we practice it. And so I want people really from this conversation take away, give yourself grace and compassion. Like, be kind to yourself because you truly, really, really are doing the very best you can with the
Yeah.
experiences you've had up until this point.
With your
And the
given
that,
resources. Yeah.
yeah, yep,
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And that makes me think of something else. When you're unconsciously speaking words, thoughts and words become things. So you're creating that reality, or you're affirming that reality for the other person if you're calling it an idiot or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, when I think about how I grew up and the language that was tossed around, it's no wonder I thought I was worthless. I had to, like, because that was the language that I heard. Now, was that necessarily the language that was delivered by other people? Not necessarily, maybe, but that's how I interpreted it. And so that's what cultivated my unconscious belief about that. So just so you know. But with that, we about to wrap up another episode of the No
Yeah, that's
Reason. What you got?
yeah,
What you
and
got?
this was no, that was episode 117, actually, correction. So ooh,
117. Well,
yeah.
thank you for anybody who was watching. Thank you for the couple people who shared your
Yeah,
energy with us
commented.
through saying good morning or sharing your thoughts. I appreciate you, Yanko. Appreciate you. And I'm gonna sing a song because Yanko likes when I end the Conversation with a date, even though I have no idea about what to sing today. So I'm sitting pretty next to my friend. Hey, hey. Oh, that's what I
You know what came to mind when you were singing that? Old New York and mobsters and you know.
got spreading the news.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm happy to. Oh no, I'm leaving today. I don't own that song either, but I did make up the one previous.
Sure, sure. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
All
You
right, guys,
got,
thank you for joining us.
and we'll see you next week, guys. Bye.